we're going to talk about real estate in Spain, as well as how we can actually even get there and be able to have a visa that we can stay there and live in our house that we've just purchased. Um, Nick, talk to me a little bit. You're a realtor in Spain. How long have you been doing it? And how difficult is it for a foreigner to buy property in Spain?
Well, actually, it's remarkably easy to come over here because obviously you're normally looking at having residency, actually being able to not just buy property here, which of course you can. I mean, there's no prohibition whatsoever, wherever you're from. Um, so there's a couple of ways that you can come and actually get residency in Spain if you're from America and you're not, or from anywhere outside the EU. And one of the ways is we've got what's called a golden visa here. So this means that if you spend 500,000 euros, which depending upon your exchange rate is about 600 odd thousand dollars, on a property, then that provides you with an entitlement to residency. And it's a kind of a streamlined process. So you come here, lob in a fair amount of money, and you've got a right, or buy in, if you like, to a right to residency here. It's 500,000, I must say, 500,000 euros plus the cost. So over here, if you buy a property, there's a 10% purchase tax. So it has to be said that the 500,000 plus the 10%. So you're going to be paying more or less 600,000 plus another 60,000. So that's one way, the golden visa way, streamlined process, very good, and you just buy into a good property and the job's done.
Is it a cash market in
Ah,
Spain?
no, you're absolutely right, Lisa. This has got to be your 500,000 euros or 600 odd thousand dollars as cash. So that doesn't stop you from buying several properties or even buying a 1 million euro property and having a mortgage for, let's say, 500,000. But you have to actually put down the cash. It has to come from the States. Lots of money. But it's quite good. But it means really that you can buy into a European country for $600,000. I mean, it's a very simple, streamlined process. So that's number one. The second way that you can do it is you can come on what's called a non-lucrative visa. So what you have to do on this is you have to be able to prove that you've got an income of around about $31,000 a year. So that's for one person. So if you're coming over, let's say, with a partner, then I think that's about another $7,700. So two people coming over here, you'd need roughly to be able to prove you have an ongoing income of something like $38,000 a year. You then have to have private health insurance. But I think, as we've said before, private health insurance, well, it's going to be about, depending on exchange rates, about $2,300 a year per person. So you're still saving lots of money if you come over here instead of paying your $10,000 or $12,000 a year in the States. And then you've just got to prove that you don't go around killing people and haven't got a sort of a massive criminal record. So non-lucrative visa, income, guaranteed income of 30 odd thousand plus partner 37,000 more or less. Private healthcare is going to cost you 2,300 give or take per person, and no major criminal record. So a very good way of buying into a country.
That's amazing. That makes it totally doable, right? Do you find that people are, like in many countries, they go in on their tourist visa, right? And then they leave the country for a day and then they come back. Do you find there's a lot of that in Spain as well?
Um,
Although I guess people are all for the most part, a lot of EU citizens, so they can kind of come and go as they please.
Well, Reece, you're absolutely right. Apart from my crowd, the Brits, who very stupidly, of course, voted for Brexit, which has got to be a historical mistake. But everyone else in Europe, can literally travel around 28 countries. And of course, once you're here, you can do much the same because there's no borders. So you want to drive up to France, Germany, Bulgaria, Italy, or wherever, and well, you just do it. And one of the great things about living in Spain, of course, is you have this easy, cheap access to the whole of Europe. You go to Budapest for the weekend. It probably costs you sort of, if you get the right time of the year, really cheap flights, $50 or whatever. Um, and go to Paris. It's just a hop. It's just 2 hours.
Oh, how amazing, huh? Well, let's get to real estate then. So let's say, I'm sure the cost of real estate varies widely depending on if you're in Madrid and Barcelona versus if you're in Gandia where you are. Um, I don't know if you can talk about, I don't know if you have any kind of approximations of like what things cost there in terms of property. So once you buy property, what are the certain taxes or fees that someone has to kind of think about when purchasing?
Yeah, absolutely. So taking property prices first. Just like the States, it really does matter. It matters completely where you are. The difference between living in, say, Madrid, which is very expensive, capital city, very vibrant, property market has been very active. Barcelona, the same, expensive. Valencia, less so, compared to, let's say, where I'm living, which is an area on the east coast, just below Valencia city. To give you some ideas, just locally where I am, so they're not indicative of everywhere else. But if you wanted, let's say, a standard 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom villa with a swimming pool, flat plot, legal property, it's probably you're going to be starting out at 250, say about $300,000. Um, Move down the coast to the sort of higher, the hot spots where a lot of the North Europeans tend to go. Well, that'll vary again. It might your medium cost for that same 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom detached house with a decent plot. Again, it might go up to sort of 500,000, but so it's quite hard to nail prices because it depends upon the area. Again, coming back to where I live here, you want a nice 3, 4 bedroom flat with a lift, balcony, very similar to the one I'm sitting in at the moment. Well, this will cost you about $130,000, something like that. And terribly cheap, incidentally. You know, your property tax on a flat like this, 140 square meters, so quite big. Um, it's probably $600 a year, something like that, um, which is nothing. Um, so it's very hard to nail property prices, but you can effectively get somewhere in, if you like, the golden quarter of an hour of the Mediterranean coast, wherever that may be. If you choose carefully to get a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom villa for around that sort of $350,000, not a problem.
So yeah, so in terms of like a breakdown of costs, in terms of actually purchasing, whether what kind of closing costs are people looking at on a $300,000 property, for example?
Okay, so if we took a $300,000, it can be a flat or a townhouse or it could be a villa, then your actual buying costs are really going to be this. One is the real horror, which is, or for us it is, which is you have 10% purchase tax. So 300,000, you're going to be paying 30,000 tax to the government, and there's nothing you can do about that. You're then going to be paying for a lawyer. The lawyer will probably charge you, let's say, more or less $1,500, $2,000 for doing the legal process. We have a notario over here who sort of oversees the property purchase at the stage of completion, and he is paid on a sliding scale, but allow another 1,000, and then you've got to register your title deed with the land registry, and that costs say another 1,000. So I kind of very roughly say it's 10% plus 4,000, say $5,000 as your closing costs.
But that's so actually it doesn't really matter how much the property is except for that purchase tax. Because like your lawyer fee and all these other fees would remain the same, right?
Reza, very crudely, that's right. So if you bought a flat for 1,000, for 100,000, then 10%, but you're still going to need the lawyer, the notaire, and the land registry document to be registered. So pretty much you're right. So whatever you buy, allow sort of $4,000 to $5,000 as a sort of the process or procedural costs, plus the horrible 10%.
Right. And so are foreigners eligible for any kind of financing there, or do they, take a home equity loan in their home country and then bring over that cash and just pay cash?
No, absolutely. There are brokers in particular that specialise literally for with expat financing. So you can certainly get mortgages here. Um, the percentage tends to change, and I can't remember exactly what it is at the moment, but it's something like 60 or 70% as being your maximum mortgageable value as a non-resident. So if you're Spanish, you can probably get sort of 100% or 95%. So you're not going to get the very high proportions that you may be able to do in the States. But you get that 60, 70% if you can justify the cost of the mortgage in terms of your income.
Hmm. And do you have any sense of what interest rates are like right now?
That's a very unfair question, Lisa, in between a pandemic.
I know. Well, it's funny
And
because money had been so cheap here in the US and the market, the housing market has been like bananas, like completely insane. And the rates have finally started going up now, hopefully to control the housing market a little bit. But I was just curious if Europe is feeling the same thing.
no, Lisa, it's a fair question, but it does make me smile, mainly because we're living in a very uncertain time. Incidentally, Spain's a good place to be in an uncertain time because no one is going to nuke Spain. So it's the place to come to. Um, in terms of interest rates, they are going up. Um, but half the reason I'm smiling is because I'm so old that years ago we had interest rates in England that went up to sort of 15, 16%. So the
Oh
ones
my
and
God.
twos and three, yeah, you know, I'm still scarred. There's a kind of sort of down here from the experience, and every month it sort of went up and up. Um, so for an old guy like me, when we were seeing sort of ones and twos and 3% or 4%, it's still very, very low interest rates. What's going to happen? I don't know. It's. I think we're going to have a plague of locusts. Actually,
Yeah, who knows, really?
well,
I think anything's fair game at this point. I think the world is just, we're just in a different place right now. I don't know.
well,
Um,
we've got biblical problems, but again, I guess Spain is as good a place as any to invest your money, and it's, I suppose, like anyone in property, I always say the same thing. It's all about moving not for a better or cheaper property, but for just a better quality of life. And there's absolutely no doubt that Spain provides a stunning quality of life. And so if you get the right property, just make sure it's the right property and you're careful. Because unlike my own country, and I hope unlike America, the you have to be quite careful about the property you buy. So what we have in Spain is we've got an amazing amount of fully illegal properties. And then we've got properties that have got some rather nasty liabilities. And then we've got properties that are completely safe to buy. Now, in my country, in the UK, pretty much everything's legal and everything's fine. So when I wrote my book, I wrote it as saying, you know, how to buy property in Spain safely. Now, if I'd done that in England, I'd have been laughed out of every publisher as there was around. But my point really about this, in terms of real estate, and it's a very important point, is be careful, have a good lawyer, know what you're looking at, be well advised, and you will buy as safely as you would do in the UK. If you come over here and you're careless and you don't use a lawyer, then you'll get chewed up. So it's you need good advice. I'm not trying to be self-serving about this. It's just more complicated to buy a properly legal good property here than it is, for example, in the UK. That's just
no,
the way it is.
that is advice alone is so valuable because that's true. You don't know, and I'm sure all the documents that you're signing are in Spanish. So you really do need proper guidance with somebody that you can trust, who knows what's going on and who knows how to look and who to ask to make sure that the property you're purchasing is the best one for you.
It- Absolutely, I must make the point that over here you've got first-class lawyers, just as you do in the States, with exactly the same duty of care to make sure that if they convey, that they do the process of the sale, to convey to you exactly what you think you're buying and with a good title and that's fully legal. The difference is that, you know, if you closed your eyes and you bought something in the UK, and I think probably in the States too, actually probably the property will be more or less okay. If you do that over here, you're taking a huge risk. The infrastructure is here, so you can get good lawyers, good advisors, speaking in English, so you don't have any linguistic problems. So you can buy safely or you can be a complete fool and buy unsafely.